Good day and good night. Welcome back to the High and Low Retrospective, the channel where we rewind the reels, revisit the classics, and uncover the deeper currents running through the shows that shaped us. Today, we're heading back to 1990 to a sitcom that began with a joke, a rap, and one little fight, but grew into something much bigger. It wasn't just about a West Philly kid moving into a Bel-Air mansion. It was about humor as survival. It was about vulnerability as strength. This one's about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but it's also about the reframing of Black Boy Joy. Let's get into it.
On the next Cosby Show, the Huxtables practice the waiting game.
Is Laura ready for the dance?
Friday, it's Laura's first date.
When my dad said you fixed me out with Laura, why, I thought I'd wet my pants.
Family Matters.
Wow, are you wearing a bra?
Friday after Full House.
By the early 90s, television was shifting. The Cosby Show had already given us aspirational black excellence. Family Matters had introduced us to a middle-class black family navigating love, laughter, and the chaos of Steve Urkel. But sitcoms still wrestled with stereotypes and narrow boxes. Then came NBC's gamble. Take a rapper with charisma, but no acting experience, Will Smith, and build a sitcom around it.
Life in Bel-Air with Fresh Prince.
Oh, monsieur. Hey, what's up here? Monsieur, where are you going? Going there? Oh. Hey, come on, man. You can get a better weave than that in Philly, man. Monsieur. Hey, Uncle Jed. What's up, man? How you doing?
Welcome to the neighborhood. Have a biscuit.
Kim folks said, Jed, buy a new crib. Yeah, I remember that.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air coming to NBC. Hey, you like possum innards?
The premise was simple. Street-smart kid from Philly moves in with his wealthy aunt and uncle in Bel-Air, but beneath the comedy was a deeper exploration of class migration, identity, and what it meant to bridge two worlds without losing yourself.
Look, you big-eared freeloader, you take your little square-headed cousin here, and you find Jeffrey, and you bring him back, or they'll never find your bodies.
As I like to say, on the surface, it was fish-out-of-water comedy. Will in his neon outfits, cracking jokes at Carlton's expense, butting heads with Uncle Phil, and clashing with Bel-Air's polished lifestyle. But at its core, The Fresh Prince was about what happens when humor becomes a tool for survival. Will wasn't just funny, he was disarming. He brought a West Philly edge into Bel-Air's pristine halls, but his wit wasn't just rebellion, it was protection. It was how a young black man could soften the blows of classism, racism, and even the pain of abandonment. The show invited audiences to laugh at Will's antics while also feeling the weight of his experiences. From navigating police profiling to learning about responsibility, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air threaded together comedy and catharsis in ways few sitcoms dared. The show was developed by Andy and Susan Borowitz, but its spark came from Quincy Jones, the legendary producer who had a knack for spotting both talent and opportunity. The story has almost become Hollywood folklore at this point. Quincy was hosting a party at his house. Will Smith showed up, and within hours, Quincy had him performing a cold audition for NBC executives in his own living room.
Will was what happened was we were out doing Back on the Block. I had the whole group out there. We had 4 rappers, Ice-T and all the guys, and the gospel choir, Tevin Campbell, everybody. We had done our senior hall show, and while we were out there, Benny Medina came by to see the show, and I think Will asked him for directions or something, how to get to the forum, and he took his number,
So Benny walks me in and introduced me to Quincy. And like, hey, Q, what's up, man? He said, hey, man, I saw your music videos. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing. Tell me your rap name again. They call me the Fresh Prince. All right, good. That's what we're going to call the show.
Then in the process, we got Andy and Susan Borowitz, the family was changed to a bougie black family, which made it much stronger.
I need you to do this. I need you to go ahead and take a few minutes, take 10 minutes, study the script, and I'm gonna clear all the stuff out the living room, and we're gonna have everybody sit down in the living room. We're gonna do an audition.
And so at 6 o'clock, we were doing, still having a meeting with Warren Littlefield and Brandon Tartikoff, and Benny was out in the other room. And so he finally called Benny in to just explain his life. It was really his life story, And so in 8 minutes, we made the pitch, and at 11 o'clock, Warren Littlefield called me up and said, we like this. We showed him Will, you know.
They were so convinced of his charisma and natural comedic timing that the deal was basically sealed that night. But Will Smith didn't arrive at that moment unscathed. By the early 90s, he was already a household name in hip-hop as one half of DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. He had platinum records, Grammy wins, and crossover hits like Parents Just Don't Understand and Summertime.
Here it is, a groove slightly transformed, just a bit of a break from the...
Summertime is definitely one of my favorite Fresh Prince songs, but behind the success was financial chaos. Will had mismanaged his money, owed millions in taxes.
I didn't pay the IRS. In my mind, I mean, I wasn't like trying to avoid paying taxes. I was just like, oh, damn, they need their money.
And found himself teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, just as fame was supposed to guarantee stability. The Fresh Prince was more than just a new gig. It was a lifeline. Acting wasn't the plan, but Will's charm, musical timing, and natural instinct for comedy translated perfectly to television. Quincy Jones saw it instantly. What NBC bought wasn't just a sitcom pitch, it was Will Smith himself. Unpolished, magnetic, and relatable. The IRS got paid, but more importantly, a reluctant actor became one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. It's one of those rare cases where desperation and genius intersect, where a career pivot born out of necessity turned into cultural immortality. Without the IRS knocking, there might never have been a Fresh Prince. Now, the casting was lightning in a bottle. James Avery brought gravitas and fire as Uncle Phil, a man whose booming presence masked deep wells of love and wisdom. Janet Hubert and later Daphne Maxwell Reid played Aunt Viv, strong, sophisticated, grounded. Alfonso Ribeiro's Carlton became a cultural icon in his own right, the preppy foil to Will's irreverence. And of course, Karen Parsons, who was my personal favorite. Tatiana Ali and Joseph Marcel filled out a family that became instantly unforgettable. Together, they built a world that felt alive, messy, and deeply human.
Oh, well, it's gonna happen again. Don't be all up in my grill. Don't be all up in my grill.
What set the Fresh Prince apart was its emotional honesty. The show wasn't afraid to break from sitcom rhythm to give us silence, to give us pain. Think about the famous episode where Will's father reappears, only to abandon him again. With Will's raw breakdown.
How come he don't want me, man?
Wasn't scripted that way. James Avery whispered to Will after the take, "Now that's acting." And it became one of the most iconic scenes in TV history, at least in my opinion. Moments like that reframed what black masculinity could look like on TV. Vulnerability wasn't weakness, it was truth. It was love. And it gave a generation permission to feel. But Fresh Prince didn't achieve this in isolation. Its cultural reach was amplified by the people who walked through the bank's front door. Queen Latifah challenged beauty standards and representation in Hollywood. Tyra Banks as Jackie tied Will back to his Philly roots. Don Cheadle's Ice Tray reminded us of the tug of war between past and present, while Oprah, Boyz II Men, Belle Biv DeVoe, they blurred the line between sitcom, fiction, and real-world cultural icons. These appearances weren't gimmicks. They made Bel-Air feel like a hub where the 90s black cultural renaissance lived and breathed. They grounded the show in a wider reality, amplifying its comedy with a sense of connection, that balance between humor and heartbreak, celebrity and authenticity. It's why the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air still resonates. It wasn't just about Bel-Air, it was about belonging, and that's what made it unforgettable. If The Cosby Show gave us black excellence and aspiration, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air gave us something messier, but just as important, joy. Will's laughter, his playful roasting of Carlton, his goofy dances in the living room, these weren't just sitcom gags, they were small, powerful acts of resistance. At a time when young black men were so often depicted in the media as threats, criminals, or cautionary tales, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air dared to show them as whole human beings, funny, flawed, emotional, and full of light. This was black boy joy before the phrase even existed, an ethos, not a slogan. The idea that humor and silliness weren't just acceptable but essential, that vulnerability didn't make you weak, it made you human. Will could crack a joke, pull a pratfall, or even cry on screen, and none of it undermined his identity. In fact, it expanded it. It told a generation of boys, especially black boys, that you didn't have to armor yourself at all times. You could be the funny one, the dreamer, the kid who dances at school or admits he's scared. You could be complicated and still be loved. And in doing so, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air cracked open a space for a new kind of masculinity on television, one that could hold both laughter and pain, bravado and vulnerability, a model that showed softness was not the opposite of strength, but part of it. Black boy joy wasn't just a phrase, it was an ethos. The idea that laughter, silliness, and vulnerability were not only allowed, but vital.
What did you do?
Everybody's always blaming me for everything.
Come on. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air ran for 6 seasons from 1990 to 1996. It was an immediate hit with young audiences and steadily grew into a cultural phenomenon. Critics praised its balance of humor and heart, while some initially dismissed it as lightweight compared to other sitcoms at the time, but history has proved it otherwise. It gave us music, fashion, and slang that seeped into the culture. It launched Will Smith into superstardom, paving the way for blockbuster films and a music career that defined the 90s. And decades later, the show's reruns, memes, and even a dramatic reimagining, Bel-Air, proved just how lasting its influence has been.
You know, Miss Banks, since you had that baby, there's something different about you.
Looking back, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air wasn't just a sitcom. It was a cultural balm, a reminder that comedy and care could coexist, that identity could be messy, and that vulnerability was its own kind of power. It reframed black boyhood at a time when society often refused to see it in full. It showed that laughter wasn't trivial, it was survival. And for a generation that grew up watching Will crack jokes in Bel-Air, it wasn't just funny, it was formative. So that's the High and Low Retrospective on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, a show about class, comedy, and care, a sitcom that gave us permission to laugh while reminding us that feeling was part of the deal. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives. If you haven't watched The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in a while, hey, jump into it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into shows that shaped us, challenged us, and sometimes healed us. Till next time, stay critical, stay nostalgic, and remember,
we gonna make like a tree and leave.